Hello. Hello. Yeah, we'll leave it like this. How's everyone doing? Make sure everything's working. Let me know if the mic, everything is all good. A lot to talk about. Of course, the Fermin Lopez stuff. We've got the outgoings, and Nkunku, Jackson. Of course, we've got the performance against West Ham. Have uploaded a video since then, but yeah, we're going to get into. We can talk about a little bit of different stuff with that today. We can answer some questions. We can talk about the signings, the links, all of that good stuff. Let's go. Let's see who's here. David saying heyo. Will Kelly, hey Connor, how's it going, mate? I'm doing good. How are you? I hope we still get Simmons. Yeah, of course, we'll touch on him today. Lopez to me looks like an alternative to Simmons. Both would likely be attacking the left half space in Maresca's setup. I'd be surprised if Chelsea went for both. I agree. I would be very shocked if they went for both, and we're going to get onto that. Why? Someone like Lopez comes in, does that mean less of a need for Garnacho? Feel the offer similar in terms of run off ball work advantages? Yeah, we're going to speak about that. Interested to hear the comparison and contrast. I still think it's Xavi, though we didn't put Ali Barrett on it for nothing. This is true. The Simmons stuff is going to be interesting. We have Sim Fab in the last few days put a few things up on Twitter. Again, I think I just saw something a minute ago about that. Lopez is right-footed. He is right-footed. Big up to Will. Big up to Dan Knight. Big up, let's go, David. Big up Thomas. Lopez isn't as clear of an upgrade as Xavi IMO. Similar age, similar profile, but Xavi is better. I wouldn't even say that they're too similar of profiles. And again, we'll sort of get into that a little bit. Similar in terms of what they'd occupy and what they'd sort of be in terms of for us and what we would and wouldn't buy, I think is something we could say. But they're different types for sure. Different types of the same sort of positioning. All depending what you sort of want from that position, really. Where do you think Nkunku will go? I think he's going to go. See, I would have said Bayern, but it's hard to sort of predict exactly where. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I wouldn't be shocked if Nkunku stayed, but obviously that would then mean that we don't go ahead with Simmons, that we probably don't go and get Fermin either. It would literally be if Nkunku stayed, it would probably be that Jackson leaves, Garnacho comes in, and Nkunku stays. Ball striking, absolutely one of Fermin's top traits for sure. Wonder if it's a smoke screen. Yes, a lot of people have been saying that. Possibly it could be. Before we sort of get into a few of these little bits on the tactics board and whatnot, we've got 30 people in the stream early doors. Can we get as many likes as possible? If we can get that to 30 straight away, then of course that can start to snowball. And we can get more people in here and sort of continue to grow. Only a few more days of August left. We're nearly about 7.2k. I'd like to hit 7.5k as quickly as possible because their goal is still 10k by the end of the year. So if all of you guys, just to help out, drop a like. It will help to circulate the stream and whatnot, and then we can sort of go from there. Pardon me. Percentage chance that Nico stays. Honestly, I have no idea. All you can really go off is what Fabrizio's saying, and what he is saying is that it's over. And that's how it seems. So let's wait and see. I mean, I would love him to stay. Like, if it was possible, especially with how we're using Pedro, it's something that I would definitely look at. And the fact that we can use Pedro in multiple different ways. And I've got a video coming out tomorrow speaking about the João Pedro, Liam Delap partnership, which I absolutely loved. That's probably my favourite part from the Friday game. Of course, Esteval as well was brilliant to see. But yeah, I would love to keep Nico if that's the case, because I just think I said it in pre-season. I said it when we was talking in the streams about him before. I think he offers stuff to this squad. I really do. If Nkunku stays, how much gains would he get? I really don't know. Probably not like loads, but we saw him in the Club World Cup getting used, and I guess we'd sort of decide we'd start to see whether it's like he actually gets reintegrated properly, or if he's just around and we sort of use him here and there. It would all depend. Yeah, João Pedro, man. Wow. Yeah, of course, João Pedro only played in the 10 because like it was the next option. But you say that Palmer got moved over, and I actually really liked the game plan. Like before it started, like this was supposed to be Palmer. So even so, it would have been Pedro in the 10. And like it's that even if even if Xavi Simons was to join, like that's not to say that you can't have João Pedro in the 10 and have sort of Simons in one of the half spaces. Of course, like it just depends who's there. Like if Cole's playing as well, if Esteval's playing as well, to how many creators you've got. But again, I've got a video coming out about João Pedro and Delap tomorrow in this sort of role. Sort of in this sort of tandem role, which I absolutely love. Like I just think it's so good. It suits both of them so well, which is brilliant to see. Brilliant to see. I feel like Garnacho isn't as close as Fabrizio reports. Fab is basically a hype agent. I would be shocked if it didn't happen if they're putting so much into it personally. Like I understand, like a lot of people sort of they don't want it to happen. So I guess that you don't want to sort of like overly sort of get into it. But yeah, I would be shocked if all of this is sort of happening with Garnacho and then nothing comes of it. That would surprise me. It would. What else we got? What is the update on Cole Palmer injury? I have no idea. Exactly that. That's the thing. When you see Nico and Delap, you need another striker. If you sell Nico, yeah, I mean, I don't think. Like, I mean, you can't bring in a third striker. Maheka scores again for the 21s. I'm going to have to rewatch. I didn't actually realise they're on now. I knew the 18s played earlier. So yeah, I'll have to watch that back because I didn't realise. But Maheka, scored a hat-trick against City. Tops. He is your third striker at the end of the day. He is. I would play João in the 10 against Fulham. Yep, so would I. We saw it last season. Kunku gave up halfway through the season and asked for a permanent move in January. Yeah, it would be nicer just to get it done. 20 million gap in value. Well, it's more like 15, supposedly. I think it gets done at 40. I would be shocked. If I had to put money on it, it would be that I think it gets done at 40 for Chelsea. That's what I would guess. To be honest, I think it's urgent that we need another left wing option. Yeah, we definitely do need one. Sorry, I meant when you play JP and Delap together, you need another striker option. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think that's why I guess they want to bring in another 10 so that Pedro and Delap are more striker options, and like you don't do that as often where you have the two of them play together. And I guess the other thing would be that if you are going to play them together, that you maybe give Maheka some minutes this season as well at times. But this, like them playing together, would only be on very sort of certain occasions if they were the only two strikers at the club. So yeah, I'd be happy if Jackson stays and becomes a third striker. Yeah, for sure. Worried these directors think Garnacho is more needed than Simons when Palmer is injured currently. I mean, he kind of is. Like, I know people don't want to hear that. Like, and I want Simons more easily. But, like, I mean, I think it is true. Like, yes, Palmer is, like, he's out. But to deal with that, you've got João. You've got Fernandez who can play in the 10. You've got Esteval who can play in the 10. They're, like, your creators in the pockets. And we've been playing 3 pocket players in the last few games against back fives. But in terms of left wing, like, you've had to shift Neto over. Like, in other games, Esteval would maybe, like we saw later in this game, we saw James inverting. So then you'd have Esteval as the right winger. So let's say Fernandez sort of pushing into the pocket, Pedro in the pocket, and let's say Neto or a left footer. And if Esteval wasn't playing, then you'd have Neto on this right side. So then you've either got Gittins or you don't have anyone there at all. Like, the next one up would be George at the minute, but again, he looks like he could leave. So then you're looking at Garnacho in this position. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. Like, I do definitely think it's needed. Let's put Gusto back in. I do definitely think a left wing option is probably more needed for the squad. Like I say, I want Simons. But yeah, we're gonna talk about sort of that position because I do think it's something that we could use for sure. Like, it all depends on what you do with João Pedro as well. I think that bringing him in just sort of identifies João Pedro further forward is the difference, rather than it being like what's an actual need right now. Obviously, this wouldn't be every game scenario, but I project this as being our go-to lineup. What we've got on screen. I mean, only against back fives, I think that we see these 3 in the pockets. But yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at with it. Like, Kukurea. It depends which pocket player it is as well, because of course, like at times it will be the 2-3-2 against back fours, and then what you'd hopefully have is a few more rotations where, let's say, these players can rotate at times and have one deeper, one sort of drop it going forward, and those sort of interconnective counter movements between lots of players. So that's sort of part of it. If you want to sort of have 3 players in the pockets at times. But yeah, as Will says, keep pressing the likes, everyone. What are we at? Let's have a quick look. 22. We've got 52 in the building. Let's run that straight to 50. I'm going to refresh that in 30 seconds. And then we're going to get into some actual sort of analysis on Fermin Lopez. So I'm going to give it 30 seconds. Please smash the like button, and we're going to quickly refresh. Hopefully we can get that to 50 ASAP, and then we can run this up as quick as possible. Where are we at? I'll be surprised if we get Fermin over Xavi. If we sell Jackson and Kunku, space will open up for either Xavi or Fermin, and the club will stick to Xavi. That's probably more likely right now. It's Xavi plus Garnacho priority, then maybe as a bonus Fermin. I think it would be it's Xavi and Garnacho priority. If they don't get a deal they want on Xavi Simmons, then they pivot to Fermin. That it would be my prediction. I don't think you get all 3. No, I don't. I think Neto will play the most out of the wingers because he gives more balance to the team. Yeah, and the fact that you can move in both sides as well. With how my Nyan thing went, I would be surprised if the club budges on the price, especially since it's market opportunity for Garnacho. I think 40 they'll budge to. I think towards 50 they won't. Xavi offers more in terms of creativity. Definitely does offer more in terms of that. Overall quality to the team than Fermin. Creativity, 100%. Overall quality, in terms of technical quality, yes. In terms of overall sort of efficiency and just dynamism, I guess, what they offer to the whole system, I think it's a lot closer than people sort of give it credit for. Will said he'll be gutted if we don't end up with Simmons. Yeah, I think a lot of people have built up to it so far that a lot of people will be gutted if it doesn't happen. But that's what I don't understand, because JP was brought in to be versatile, and it's nice to see him in the 10. Yeah, I agree. 29 likes. Can we whack that up to 40? We've still got 42 people in here. I'm going to start talking about Fermin a little bit now, but please, 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 if you haven't dropped a like, please do, because it does really, really help. Just everything, the stream, the videos, absolutely everything, all it takes, really quick like. It's all free to do, and it helps me out. So, shall we do it in the example of this? I think is best to sort of show to begin with, but we'll talk about him in sort of multiple different ways. If I get Simmons up as well, like this, then I can sort of show how each of them sort of impacts the team and what they're good at and what they're sort of... Because what I think is Fermin, what he offers you is he is genuinely the role that Enzo Fernandez is playing and having to do, which he's doing brilliantly because he's getting the goals, he's getting the assists. I think he is literally what you would be getting with Fermin is like the exact player that you'd want for the Fernandez role, in the sense that defensively he's an absolute sort of workhorse in terms of pressing. He's a bit of a mixture between like Enzo Fernandez and Gallagher for Chelsea fans, I would say, in the sense of like he is so energetic and tenacious off the ball, but he's also like he is just so clever, and he's got the IQ levels like Fernandez, like his, you can see that he's come through at La Masia. You can see he's got that sort of football ideology and coaching in him, that his movement in spaces is top notch. Like his ability to receive in these sort of half space pockets, whichever side he's on, brilliant on the half turn. He's brilliant at positioning himself between the lines to receive that ball. His movement to sort of shake his marker in these positions, in terms of rolling into the middle to receive it on the half turn, sort of receiving on the back foot in these sort of zones here where we see, oh, that's an arrow, where we see a lot of the time our players will sort of peel wide into those areas. He's brilliant at sort of peeling off, receiving on the back foot, and then sort of taking that first touch into space into here, or even sort of first time pass or flick round the corner to sort of find that man, find his winger, or find it inside. He's very good at sort of those quick one-touch movements, which really helps with his IQ, which is very good. Like I say, very good in those pocket scenarios. But what he's so good at is those sort of third man runs And why I say it's perfect for Maresca and perfect for the system is if I actually put it into sort of the role that we'd see more often last year. Let's just put that as Palmer for now, just because, like, let's say it's something we saw more often last season. This sort of 3-2-4-1. With Fermin between the lines, what he's so good at, and what I tried to speak about a lot last season, is you would drop in and you would sort of form this pentagon, right? Is what I would call it from build up. Now, a lot of people saw it as the box, but what would happen is the striker would drop into this position to form this pentagon, with the idea being that as this player, of course, drops in, now that was Jackson at times, but this could be Pedro now, drops in, sort of forcing these players to follow, or one of the players. The idea is for that ball to go into someone like João Pedro's feet, who can then sort of play that third man combination and have this runner off the back. So you've got Fermin bursting off the back, you've got Palmer who could be bursting off the back. But what it was last season is it was Enzo. And Enzo's got so much better at that. But he's not got the same athleticism and tenacity in his movement to sort of attack that last line with those third man combinations. Whereas Fermin, that is, for me, what he is best at, is that sort of ability to attack the last line and get in behind and crash the box. So he is like, if I was to sort of try to explain what his role would be in this team, is it would be another version of Enzo, but who is slightly even more molded to already being that role. Whereas Enzo needed a little bit of time to sort of build into it, because he is a little bit more of a sort of like technician and creator, where he sort of wants the ball to feet a little bit more. He wants to turn and face so that he can play that ball into the channel. He can play it in behind and he can sort of set the tempo of his passing. Whereas Fermin is a little bit more of a give and go player, where he will sort of show in this pocket. And like I say, he'll sort of play a first time and then he's gone. He wants to attack the box. He wants to get in behind and use that tenacity with his relentless running as well. And this is something that I've spoken about in the past as well when I've spoken about Garnacho. Having those players that are off-ball movers and runners, Fermin is exactly what you need in that sense. And he'd give that. Because, like I say, like when you've got players like Palmer, ball to feet, Esteval, if he's playing ball to feet a little bit more, what you do need is you need these players that are willing to make runs in behind. And if you've got that in one with Fermin, you can even, and another thing that I think you would love about him, by the way, is the idea that he can play in either pocket. And you've seen with Maresca, sometimes he wants the strong foot in the correct pocket. So like he'll sometimes put Palmer on the left half space. The same with Fermin. You can put him on that right half space on his right foot in order to sort of aid that progression and keep it on the outside of the block and make it quicker. But then you can also sort of flip them round so that they've got better shooting angles and sort of ability to cut inside balls into the box with those sort of in-swingers. There's so many different sort of iterations that you can use it with. And that's another thing with Fermin. Again, his shooting off of both feet, ball striking, is so good. So good. If I give you a few stats, which actually I don't have up right now, I've just realized. But I mean, 0.4 XG for Fermin Lopez compared to 0.21 for Xavi Simons. Even XAG, like 0.31 for Fermin and 0.25 for Xavi Simons. So it's actually better for Fermin Lopez. But again, it's a little bit more efficient on less games, less minutes for Lopez, a little bit more off the bench. Shooting, he has 2.81 shots per game, whereas Xavi Simons only has 2.26, so a little bit higher volume as well. More shots on target, literally 0.01 better shots on target percentage. A little bit closer to goal as well, which can come from that sort of bursting into the box. He adds that ball striking off of both feet, which is important. Now, whilst I completely understand it, and I think it makes so much sense, because like I do really understand why you would be interested in Fermin Lopez for this system. And I think Maresca would absolutely adore him, like so much. However, Xavi Simons, of course, gives you something a little bit different, which is that ability to carry from deep. And I don't think we have that as much in the squad. Now, Palmer comes into these areas and sort of likes to isolate players. You can have this sort of winger pinning the fullback. You can have the wide centre-back in this area. And then Palmer will sort of arrive on this line that I speak about quite a lot to receive the ball on the axes between the winger and the wide centre-back. And he can sort of get a 1v1 from this area, and he can bring it forward because he is just so manipulative on the ball. What Xavi Simons can do, which is a little bit different from that area when he receives the ball, and this is something that we do a lot. This player will stay a little bit higher. Xavi Simons will drop in, so you'd have Palmer sort of operating in here. Simons can drop into here, and I think he's a little bit more likely to get it and sort of drive centrally into this area, whether he combines on the way in with, say, Casado, like give and goes, or he's sort of just like that guile and that speed off the mark, that acceleration to get into these spaces. I do think we sort of lack that central carrier, and Simons would bring that. He's also more creative. He has like a little bit more sort of riskiness to his play, a little bit sort of more risky in the pass, in the carry, which, yes, like it can hurt you on certain occasions, but again, he's got the tenacity and work rate off the ball, as does Fermin Lopez. So they both bring that, and I think that they both suit the mark in terms of what Maresca would want from them off the ball. So it's a really interesting one with Simons, and I do think it majorly comes down to what you want more of. Like Fermin, do you want that off-ball quality, sort of moving in behind, connecting, being more of a box crasher? Or do you want that sort of more maverick carrier in central areas who can also do take the creative load off of Palmer? Whilst I don't think Fermin can take that creative load off of Palmer. I think if you was to bring in him instead of Simons, I think actually what you would be doing is you would basically be saying that Fermin Lopez is going to be more of a box crasher off the ball, and you would basically be saying Esteval is going to be our secondary creator this year. He's going to be the one with the keys when Palmer's not on it. Like, he's the one that we're going to rely on to bring that extra creativeness and take that creative workload away from Cole, which slightly worries me because I think he's more than good enough to do it already this season. I think, literally we've seen it already. So this is sort of tough, to understand. It's a tough decision to make because he's ready to be sort of stepped up into that mark, but you don't want to rely on him too much because if you do and put too much pressure on him at such a young age, it could be scary. And somebody just made a good point as well. I think Andre and having that ability of having Andre is another thing to sort of take into mind. Now, absolutely different players again. Like Fermin is a little bit higher up. He is more likely to play that Enzo role or just the 10 role as well, but playing in the pocket. Andre can play in the pocket, but I still think Andre is a little bit better in this role here, where he can arrive in the pocket. Now, he's easily good enough to play in the pocket. I've said this even last summer. And I think he has the technical quality and the box crashing ability to do it. But I do think he's a little bit better at arriving in the box from here than he is from here, which may sound strange and he did have a huge chance against, who did we play first game of the season? Palace? Yeah, Palace. Where he arrived in the box and he showed that ability to arrive. But I think he's slightly better from this area as well. And he has that extra athleticism to sort of play in that pivot. So it wouldn't affect, even if Fermin came in, it's not like, let's worry about Andre, because that wouldn't be the case. But you can make a case that Andre gives those sort of box crashing abilities as well. Whereas you still don't really have that sort of deep carrier that I said, like with Simons in the squad. So let's sort of open it back up to the chat. Have you got any questions about Fermin or even Simons? Let's sort of open it up, ask a few questions. I'm going to check how many likes we got because I saw at one point we spiked to like 90 viewers, even though we started at 40. So turns out as soon as I started talking about Fermin, everybody very, very interested. So can we whack the like button? Because, yeah, like I say, we're up to about 70 people in the stream. So that's minimum. Can we get that to 50? Because it will help me a lot if when we end this stream that we're on minimum between 50 and 100 likes. That usually helps to push the video out even after the stream is finished. And put your questions in the chat and I'll get to them in a second. Just go quickly check nothing's happened on Twitter or anything. I'm sure somebody would have said if it had. Although Fab has just retweeted about direct contact from Roma for George. So that's interesting. Where are we? So since we have Enzo Fernandez, Simons makes more sense, says the Demonat. That was what we brought up earlier from Stefan. I see a lot of people misprofiling Fermin just because he's good at making runs into the box. That doesn't mean he's similar to Enzo or Santos because he isn't, at all. Like I said, he's got aspects of both. I didn't say he's definitely not similar to Santos. He's got aspects of Enzo, but not. I think that's actually wrong. I don't think he's got aspects of Enzo. I think he is what he's what Enzo Maresca wants Enzo's role to be. He's using Enzo Fernandez in the role that like Lopez is perfect for at Chelsea. So yeah, you're right. They're not similar players. I just think he's a similar role for what it would be. That's what he is true. Love we desperately need that central carrier. I think that's true. Very much an attacking midfielder compared to both of those who are more natural box-to-box players who are also good at getting into the box. Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, he is a pocket player who would start in the 10. That is what I said. So yeah, that's true. Most of you probably have never seen Fermin play. I mean, yeah, I've watched loads of him at Barca, so that's just not true. I'm assuming you mean the chat because I don't. I'm going to assume that you're not talking to me because this is it's my job. Simple question: who would you rather Chelsea sign? Considering we signed Garnacho. If we sign Garnacho, which of Fermin and Simmons would I rather sign? Probably Simmons. I mean, yeah, it's Simmons. Can't João Pedro do what Simmons does because he also has as a ball carrier? Yeah, not as well. He can carry the ball. He's a bit more of a distance carrier. Rodgers would be perfect for that role in terms of a carrier. Simmons is more like he's got more agility to sort of open those carrying angles himself. I think Pedro is a little bit more sort of get the ball closer or like in this pocket in transition and then burst into the space that say in these channels here rather than sort of from these deep areas into the middle of the pitch. Fermin's athleticism and tenacity definitely allows him to be a good fit for the Enzo role, no doubt, but he's very much a 10 who just has a complete skill set on both sides of the ball. Yeah, so exactly what I said. But yeah, that's true. I agree. Should we go for Menu? I love Kobe Menu, but I love Kobe Menu, but I just don't think it's worth. He's so good, but it's just he's a little bit closer to sort of like you'd want him in this pivot controlling play. Like I feel like he'd be more like yes, he can play the Enzo role and sort of attack the box as more of a 10. He is a 6-8-10 hybrid. Like he can literally play all those roles. But I just the price would be crazy as well. I wouldn't be surprised if it came up though. I really wouldn't. Like we've been putting the name, like we've been putting the hat for him before. And if it becomes that he's up for sale, I wouldn't be surprised if they start sort of chucking it in again. That we could go for him and Garnacho in one sort of swoop. We've got 64 people in the building, by the way, 41 likes. Can we get that to 50, please? Let's go 9 more likes. I'm going to refresh that in 2 minutes to double check. Fermin Lopez and Casado and Enzo midfield 3 versus top teams would be top. I can't lie. Palmer right wing. That would be a lot of fun. The only thing with that would be Enzo would pretty much have to be at that. I mean, Enzo would at that point be the deep line playmaker. But I guess the good thing about that is, same as I've said with Simmons in the past, Fermin would be that left half space player. Palmer would be that right half space player. So in terms of, yeah, it'd be on paper, it would be this, for example. Fermin in the 10, Palmer on the right, these two in the pivot. And then it would become on the ball, Palmer inside, Fermin over here, like this. That would sort of be how it sort of shapes up on the ball and off the ball. And then, yeah, what you would then have is that sort of extra bit of athleticism, tenacity, and sort of ability to protect Enzo in this deeper role, which is perfect for him. So, yeah. What do you think about Palmer as a 10 in a 3-1-6? Feel like he's not the best suited for that role and suits the inside right role. I still prefer him in that 10. Like, it depends on the opponent. It depends what you want to do. Like, if they're going to completely shut him off out of the game, then yeah, moving him into here could be good to get him touches and sort of allow him to affect the game a little bit more. I like him in this role. The reason I like him in that role in the 3-1-6 is that he can move to both sides to sort of create overloads. And what he can then do is sort of lose his marker because he can sort of drift from here and he can drift all the way into sort of these pockets. And players from this sort of area, unless they're really heavily man marking, they're less likely to follow him into those sort of wide areas when he doubles up. So I do like it for him for that reason. He can create separation without having to like overly work. So yeah, I still prefer him in that 10 role, but it depends on the game. Like I said, if they're marking him out, then perhaps it depends. So yeah, that's how you see it as well. Yeah, that's fair. I do. Like, that's what I said with Simmons as well. That's a reason why I think Simmons in that side can be very, very important. What's up, Connor? How you doing? You think this Fermin deal goes through? I thought we were registration tied, even with prospect signing Xavi Nacho. So yeah, that's like the UEFA code thing, isn't it? Like code. Don't want to say code. UEFA rules. Basically, that we have to sell to buy. Like, I mean, it did say with the Fermin deal, as it has with the Simmons and the Garnacho deal, it's all going to depend on sales. So let's see what happens with Nkunku and Jackson. They're clearly the keys to these signings happening or not happening. So we can sort of theorize on these, and it's fun to sort of speak about, which is why I've sort of booted up a stream for today. But we have to watch Jackson and Nkunku because they're the two. They unlock these deals. I prefer Simmons. We have Lopez profile already. I think, like I say, Lopez is the perfect version of one of those profiles. But yeah, I hear it with Simmons for sure. Fermin is a very hard worker out of possession, and I wonder if Simmons brings the same work rate out of possession. Does the Leipzig system mask Simmons out of possession play, and with such a hard worker out of possession as Fermin? That was a continuation. Interesting. I'm assuming you're writing a little bit more, but I do think that Simmons brings the same work rate out of possession. Like, not the same. It's close, though. Like, he works very hard off the ball. So that's like Fermin and Xavi both bring that side to the game. And but I think that's a huge reason why they're both sort of options for that sort of hybrid half space pocket player role that we want to add to the team, is to add a little bit more work rate in those positions than we had with Nkunku and with Felix. So that's true in that sense. Where will Xavi be in the lineup then? You guys are totally shutting the deal off. No, like I said, this quite literally that. I literally, the whole video that I just spoke about, this whole sort of section has been between the two of them. So does this facilitate Fernandes in deep positions without losing out of possession work rate? It does facilitate, but I think Simmons facilitates it too, because you have that sort of ability to burst back and help. Fermin probably like more so. But yeah, Matthew says, by the way, I'm also an analyst, currently working with a club. Don't make videos, student of the game like yourself. Would love to collab with you one day. Yeah, it's all good, Matthew. Get in touch with like a message. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but yeah, I'm sure we could sort of speak about it one day. Yeah, I've worked with clubs as well, so like you're definitely in the right place to continue learning. So yeah, keep it up, man. Keep it up. And thank you for the sort of support as well. Don't you think if we get Lopez, Enzo position is in danger? Not in danger, because I think that long term, maybe I would be slightly worried that he becomes not expendable. But like until like maybe Madrid come knocking again in a year or two, and maybe it becomes more of a conversation because Fermin is so perfect for that role. But I'm not worried because I still think Fernandes is just such a rare profile in terms of the passing range that he gives you from pretty much any area of the pitch. Is Fermin and Enciso's role the same? Enciso's more of a floater who's like, he's more of a technician creator, whereas Fermin is a bit more of like an all-round sort of on-off ball sort of like presence, like I say, box, like ability to crash the box, sort of on the half turn in the pockets, like less of a creator. Simmons for left wing, Fermin is 8'10". I just don't think that like Simmons is an out and out left winger. I have reservations because of like his ability to create separation on the outside, not even separation, but like because he can't get that same burst on the outside as quick. Like he's better at carrying inside where he can get the defender. He can get the defender on his back, which he's very good at sort of taking contact. Whereas when he goes down the line, I think if you haven't seen my video on Simmons, go check it out. When he goes down the line and he takes contact from the side, he's not as good at sort of holding that contact, and he can get bullied off the ball a little bit easier. That's my problem with Simmons being an out-and-out left winger. I don't mind him starting from the left and coming into this pocket. But then that would mean Gittins is really your only sort of out-and-out touchline left winger. Whereas I think what they want is obviously if you bring Simmons and Nacho in, then you've got Garnacho and Gittins as your out-and-out left wing sort of touchline players. You've got Simmons who can play pocket, come into the pocket. You've got Palmer and Esteval who can do the same but from the other side. And then you've got multiple pocket players, multiple touchline players, and a bit more of a mix of the lot. So I think that's why Garnacho is sort of so heavily touted for that role. Notice that during the West Ham game, Caicedo did occasionally drop between the centre backs, or am I just imagining things? No, he did. He did in the same way that he did against Palace in the first game. Again, I'm not sure if you've seen my video about it, but check it out if you haven't. But yes, he has been doing that to aid progression a little bit. In terms of, again, over in those back fives, playing against those 5-2-3s, because there's three, you'd have sort of 1, 2, 3 players pressing. What he would then do is sort of drop into this last line to make that a 4v3 in that scenario, an overload, to create that overload. So yes, you're right. Would there be a possibility that Fermin develops his carrying abilities? We've seen flashes of it, but I agree, not enough to classify him as a carrier. Yeah, I mean, again, I think he's less of that type, but he's got the quality to do so. So yeah, like, of course it could improve. I think he's a little bit more connective than he is sort of distance carrier, but yeah. Would be better in that left half space with Gittins and Garnacho left wing than Simmons. That's interesting. It's interesting. Simmons is also a very tenacious player off the ball with similar athletic abilities, but the difference between the two is probably in terms of play style and defensive output, Fermin being complete. Yeah, definitely tenacity in terms of how they tackle off the ball and like sort of work back in that space is definitely similar. Would Simmons accept being rotation option because he won't start every game? I mean, he seems so set on joining, and I would assume that he's been told the plan for him. So it seems so. What do you think? Which role is perfect for Hato? Inverted fullback, inverted wingback, overlapping fullback. I think this role that Kukurea is in here, where he can sort of be that left centre back on the ball, but then he can push forward to support the press here. But then he can also make late runs if he needs to. And I think that would work really well with Fernandez being deep as well, that if he then got on the ball and shifted, like, you could have him make those really late runs either in the half space or even on the outside. So yeah, I think the best position is to start from here, but use his athleticism to sort of affect all phases of the game. That's sort of my main thing for Hato, but he's just so good in all zones that it's sort of perfect. In the same way that Kukurea is, that you can have a little bit more zone replacement on this side of the pitch within that triangle with like the left centre back, the left DM, and the left pocket player. You can have them sort of interchanging. I think Fermin can compete with Enzo. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Where are we at? 74. 2 seconds. Maurizio saying, but it'd be the same profiles for each wings. No, Simmons, Esteval, Gittins, Neto, at least in how Maresca has deployed them. How do you mean, like one touchline, one who can drift inside to be a pocket player? Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean? But then if one gets injured, then you've only got one option on each side as a touchline winger. So yeah, that is what you meant. Yeah, I think the issue there is that, say Gittins gets injured, you've got Neto as your only touchline winger for both sides of the pitch. Esteval can do it. So what would probably happen if that was the case would be Esteval would be your right touchline winger and Neto would become your left touchline winger for that sort of sense of time. Fermin will A. Not sure what do you mean, Michael? By the way, do you think the SD's strategy of focusing on attacking signings shows that they believe they have enough in the back, but only if we're able to convert more chances and be clinical in the final third? Yes and no. I think long term they'll make changes like in the back line eventually, but I think they have trust in a Chempong, of course. Like, they don't want to I think they're worried about making the wrong move with Colwell, and they don't want to rush that move. I think they're happy with Tosin for now. I do think long term there'll be some changes and sort of some turnover in that centre back position, but I think they want to use this to sort of really test the Chempong this season, and yeah, sort of go from there. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we signed a centre back in the next few days, just out of nowhere. I wouldn't be shocked. It all depends on those outgoings as well. But Josh is the one that I'm really sort of, and yeah, like you've just said as well, Sarr, he's another one, did really well the other day. Good job, thank you, Michael. I feel Fermin will be an issue for Santos. Like I just mentioned, I think Santos a little bit deeper more often. in the pivot, whereas I think Fermin is much more of that 10 who can play in either pocket. So I don't think it would be as big a deal, but yes, it would. Like, if you want to say Andre was sort of going to deputise Enzo's minutes, then technically in that sense, yes, it would probably affect the minutes in one way or another, because those Enzo minutes would maybe then go to Fermin more often, even from the bench. So yes and no, like I hear it. What is the most realistic option for a centre back? Premier League players only. Most realistic option. Most realistic option. It's a tough one. I mean, Gerhi, if you can convince him. Like, a lot of the other players are gone. Like, I mean, Van Hecker is another one, but I just we've not even been linked. So, like you say, most realistic, probably Gerhi, just because we've actually been linked with him and we've sort of got some backlog there. What's your best back three? Everyone fit aside Cole. Probably on screen now. As of literally, if we was to play Fulham tomorrow, like, I mean, as we're doing this week, then it would be that three on the ball. But like, eventually, I want it to be like a Chempong in one of the positions. So I think right now, just to sort of keep some stability, I would keep it sort of as is with this. But yeah, Garnacho is more of an inside forward, half space type forward player. Could probably also thrive as a second striker. No, I don't agree with that. I think Garnacho is much more. He's like, I get what you mean in terms of making those runs into the box from here, but he prefers starting on the touchline and making those runs from the touchline into the box. He's much more sort of an attacker who attacks the backline in that sense. Like Nacho's best ability is to attack in behind. Apparently, Lopez links not true. They're not true. If you're talking about the same thing I saw, he said that like we're more focused on the others, but we're like, of course, we're interested. But he then sort of said that a lot of people are interested, which is true. Well, probably true. Next season, we're going to turn over many centre backs. Yeah, I think that's true. I think there's a good chance. Like, I think they want to just see what happens this season with a lot of the players. Like, give those sort of Josh and players like that chances. Missed the first part of the stream, but was interested in your opinion on the integration of academy players. Who do you think will break through, and if there are viable pathways for them? I mean, a Chempong's already through pretty much, isn't he? But like more minutes for him. Kavuma McQueen, I would love to see get minutes in the cup, but it depends. Like if we end up getting Garnacho, then I'd still hope he gets minutes maybe from the bench. But in terms of starts, like you'd probably be playing the one that isn't playing out of Garnacho and Gittins. So that would probably stop Kavuma McQueen from getting a start. But hopefully maybe like a sub appearance against a cup team, possible. Who else? Like Keanu Dyer, it's all dependent on signing his contract, which I don't think he's going to do, unfortunately. Yes, Garnacho is very Sterling-esque, very, in terms of his career arc. Garnacho is a touchline winger that attacks inward. It's why Amram stopped using him. Yeah, agreed with that, Keeman. Any other youngsters, I would say? Antwi, if he stays, if he doesn't go to Strasbourg, or like even another move, then maybe he could get some minutes this season as well. They'd be the ones that I'd probably point out. But Kavuma McQueen's the one that I'm like really excited about. Of course, Shim as well. Actually, is that if Jackson leaves and we only have Pedro and Delap, then hopefully Shim can get some cup minutes this year as well. Murray Campbell, I'm not as big on him. I really like Emanalo, but I don't think it'll be his year this year. But to sort of break through, I think it will sort of take a while. But I think we need to see another step from him sort of before we see that. But Murray Campbell maybe make some squads. I mean, he was already in the squad once or twice last year, I believe, in the Conference League, like in the squads. And he came off did he come off the bench? Was it last year or under Poch where he got a game? Can't remember. But yeah, he's another name for sure. We're probably going to end the stream in like 5 minutes. Let me quickly, any more questions, put them in the chat. Can I also check the like drop to 48? So can we get that to 50? Like 2 more likes. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. And then we're going to have a video out tomorrow about that Delap and João Pedro partnership because, like I said, I think the tactical sort of nuance, like the ability it gives them, like I love it. I think it can be such a deadly weapon this season when we use them as a 2, and like I say, as a 2, but more like this. But yeah, I think it could be a real weapon for Chelsea this year. I'm just going to put this back to how it was, just like that. any more questions? We've got 60 people in the building. We'll do like 1 or 2 more minutes of questions, and then we'll be ending the stream. Let me just check what we're at. Hey, we're up to 52 likes. Let's go. Huge, huge, huge from everybody involved. 50 minutes, 50 likes. This feels like a good point to end the stream, as I just wanted to sort of get on and talk about Fermin a little bit. Big up, Keeman. Let's go. One general question: is there a better way to attack the back five? Most teams throw 6 players in the final third to overload. It's all about timing, really. Like, I mean, I spoke about it before. Like with a back five, like you want to attack that last line with 6 players, because that is just how like you overload that back line. But of course, like you want to be able to sort of break that back five with runs in behind. You want to attract them forward first. You want to be able to get balls into the box and sort of set your rest defense higher up against a back five so that they can't get out. So there's a lot of different things. Not a fan of JP against a back three. The lap and JP makes sense versus a back three. Yeah, for sure. In this exact way, with the two of them sort of connected like this, is so fun against back threes. Rabaj, I've not seen loads of him because he's only actually I've only watched him play a couple of times. So he's one to watch for sure. But like, he's one I'm sort of not going to speak about until I've fully sort of formulated my opinion on him. But looks like a big talent for sure. Right, we're going to end the stream there because I've got a few other bits to do, and yeah, we've got a video coming out tomorrow, so keep your eye out for that. Thanks again for all the support. We surpassed 50 likes. Big up to everybody in the chat, and we will see you guys in tomorrow's video. So peace, thanks for the support. See you guys next time.